If you have ever felt like everyone else got a map for life and you didn't, stay with me for the next few minutes, because this might be the most important thing you hear all year. Look around you. Your old classmates are getting promoted. Your cousins are getting married. Your friends are buying houses and posting pictures that scream, "I have it figured out." And you're still trying to figure out who you even are. You've started things and quit them. You've changed your mind about your career 3 times. You've watched people who seem far less thoughtful than you pass you by. And a small voice in your head keeps whispering, "Something is wrong with me." Here's what nobody told you. That voice is lying. There is a personality type so rare that most people never meet more than 1 or 2 in their entire lifetime. And almost every single person who has it feels exactly like you feel right now. Behind, confused, and quietly ashamed of their own timeline. But according to the psychiatrist Carl Jung, this personality type isn't broken. It's just built on a completely different clock. And once you understand how that clock works, you will never look at your wasted years the same way again. Before we go further, if this is already hitting something in you, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to explain next is going to change how you see every single year you thought you lost. Let's start with the truth. Almost nobody says out loud. Most people build their personality the easy way. They watch the people around them and they copy. They copy the career their parents approve of. They copy the relationship timeline their friends follow. They copy the goals that make sense to everyone at the dinner table. It's fast, it's efficient, and it works, at least on the surface. But there is a small percentage of people whose minds simply refuse to do this. Not out of rebellion, not out of laziness. Their inner world is too loud to ignore. Jung believed that some people are born with an unconscious mind that is unusually active, almost overflowing with feelings, questions, images, and instincts that never fully switch off. For these people, copying someone else's life isn't just uncomfortable, it feels like wearing someone else's skin. So, while everyone else moves forward on schedule, they hesitate. They start a career and abandon it. They fall in love and pull away, not because they're scared of commitment, but because some part of them refuses to build a life on a foundation that isn't actually theirs. From the outside, this looks like indecision. From the inside, it feels like suffocation, like trying to breathe through a life that was tailored for somebody else's body. Here's where it gets interesting. Jung didn't see this hesitation as a flaw. He saw it as protection. Because a person who forces themselves into the wrong identity too early doesn't succeed, they fracture later. You've probably seen this. Someone who had it all by 30, the perfect job, the perfect marriage, the perfect image, and then by 45 their entire life quietly falls apart. That's not an accident. That's what happens when the outside of a life gets built faster than the inside can catch up. The rare personality type avoids this trap the hard way, by refusing to rush. Their 20s don't look like progress. They look like drifting, jumping jobs, jumping cities, sometimes disappearing into isolation for months at a time. To everyone watching, it looks like failure to launch. But Jung would tell you something different is happening underneath the surface. While other people are building resumes, this person is quietly building a self. They're asking questions most people don't ask until they're staring down a midlife crisis. Who am I when nobody's watching? What do I actually believe, and what did I just inherit from my parents, my culture, or fear? What am I done pretending about? Those questions don't make you productive, they make you slow. But they are also the exact questions that save people from waking up at 50, successful on paper and completely empty inside. There's another layer to this that almost nobody talks about, and it might be the loneliest part of the entire experience. This personality type sees through things that other people need to believe in order to function. The unspoken games at the office, the performance in every networking conversation, the hollow feeling underneath goals that everyone else is chasing with total conviction. Jung called this the burden of consciousness. The more clearly you see, the harder it becomes to play along. How do you compete for a promotion in a system you privately think is broken? How do you fake excitement for a life you don't actually want? So you pull back, not always in an obvious way. Sometimes you're still there physically, at the party, at the family dinner, at your desk. But some part of you has quietly checked out. People read this as apathy, arrogance, or laziness. What's actually happening is your own mind refusing to cooperate with something that feels false. And I want you to really sit with this next part, because if you've ever felt late in life, this is for you. The schedule you were handed was never built for you in the first place. It was built for people who build identity by absorbing the world around them, not by questioning it. You are not behind. You are simply on a different schedule, one that looks like failure from a distance and looks like something else entirely once you get close enough to understand it. Now, this different schedule comes with a price, and that price is loneliness. Not the ordinary kind that fades with a phone call to a friend, a deeper kind. Because when your inner world is this complex, small talk starts to feel unbearable. You can be sitting in a room full of people who genuinely like you and still feel completely unseen, like you're speaking a language nobody else in the room learned. This kind of loneliness tends to hit hardest in the late 20s and early 30s, and Jung considered this moment a turning point. Some people can't survive it. They numb themselves. They force themselves to fit in. They trade the self that was still forming for the simple relief of finally belonging somewhere. And Jung was blunt about the cost of that trade. Betraying the self that's trying to emerge doesn't just disappear. It turns into resentment that follows you for years, a quiet bitterness toward the person you became just to be accepted. But the people who push through the loneliness instead of running from it go through something that can't be rushed or faked. They stop needing outside approval to feel like they're doing okay. They stop racing a clock that was never theirs to begin with. And for the first time, they start listening to something coming from inside them instead of from everyone around them. That's the exact moment real growth begins. If any of this feels like it's describing you, drop a comment and tell me which part hit hardest, because the people reading it are walking the exact same road you are, and you might be the reason someone else finally feels understood tonight. Somewhere around the mid-30s, for people who make it through that stretch of loneliness without abandoning themselves, something shifts. It's not loud. Nobody throws a party for it. But internally, the noise starts to settle. The anxiety that used to feel constant, so constant you'd stopped even noticing it, starts to fade. The endless comparing yourself to everyone else's timeline starts to fade too. You stop asking, "Who am I supposed to become?" and you start simply being who you already are. And because this version of you wasn't copied from anyone, because it was built slowly, in private, through years nobody else witnessed, it carries a kind of weight that a fast, borrowed identity never has. People feel it before they can explain it. Jung believed this is the exact moment this rare personality type finally arrives in life, not as someone still trying to fit in somewhere, but as someone who's simply stopped needing to. Their words carry more weight, not because they talk more, but because when they do speak, it actually means something. Their presence changes the energy in a room without them trying. Their decisions get sharper, because now those decisions come from clarity instead of fear. This isn't confidence in the way we usually talk about confidence. It's quieter than that, and it's more solid. Call it coherence, an inner world too intense to copy anyone else's life. A decade that looked like standing still but was actually the foundation being poured. The isolating weight of seeing through things other people needed to believe. A loneliness that turned out to be a stage, not a life sentence. And an arrival that shows up late, quietly, without the fireworks that early success usually comes with. Jung believed this personality represents something the world desperately needs, and almost never knows how to spot in time. Someone who refuses to trade depth for speed, who refuses to trade what's true for what's approved of, who refuses to build a life on a foundation somebody else chose for them. The success that eventually comes from this path doesn't arrive with noise. It doesn't quietly rot from the inside the way a lot of early success does, because it was never borrowed in the first place. It doesn't consume the person. It expresses them. And maybe the best part of it is this: it gives you something almost nobody else gets to feel, the simple, solid sense that your life actually belongs to you, and that every single year that looked like nothing was never wasted time. It was preparation. So if you've spent years feeling like you're behind everyone else, I want you to really consider a different possibility. You might not be late at all. You might be early for a completely different kind of life. The kind that can't be rushed. The kind that only becomes possible once you finally stop trying to be anyone except exactly who you are. If this video meant something to you, do me a favor and share it with the one person you know who's been quietly feeling behind in their own life, because they probably need to hear this today more than you do. And before you go, tell me in the comments which part of this hit closest to home for you. I read every single one, and I promise you, whatever you write, someone else scrolling through these comments is going to read it and feel a little less alone tonight.